Hey folks, Marc Arnett again here, Sunset Builders and Maintenance, your residential general contractor here in Lee County. Give us a call if you've got a multifaceted project that requires management. We also have staff that can work on your project doing various things. We have carpenters and so forth. We can be reached at info@sunsetbuilders.net, or our office direct line is 239-236-9646. Today I'm joined at the table by Jill Selby. A happenstance meeting. I just talked to her on the phone yesterday for the first time, and we had a really good connection. We may wind up doing some work together, but Jill is a renovation design coordinator. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
All right, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and her business.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Again, my name is Jill Selby. I have a renovation design company called Dulce Jill, which happens to be my first and middle name. We focus primarily on floor planning, CAD design, and creating and designing functional spaces for renovations.
Awesome.
So a client would come to us and we would help them figure out the scope of work, and then we would work with someone like yourself.
Who is your clients?
I'm primarily based in Sanibel and Fort Myers.
Okay.
So anyone looking for a bath remodel, a kitchen remodel, and I've even done full home remodels. So
how would they talk to you? How would they get in touch with you?
You can give me a call, 973-219-7002, or you can just look me up on my website, dulcejill.com. And you'll find a lot of information, my services, some of the materials that I use, and it'll walk through a little bit of my process.
A lot of great photos. I'm a big picture guy. Love the photos.
Yes.
So you have not been, this was the part that intrigued me the most from talking to her. You'll learn this real quickly. You haven't been in this business very long, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay, tell me about that. How'd you get into this? I like this story.
I started, born and raised in New Jersey.
Okay.
Moved to New York City and lived there for about 12 years. I had a pretty successful fashion career, so I was in fashion sales in the women's contemporary market for upwards of 11 years. And I worked my way up from beginning sales level to sales management. And I have always loved design. I've loved the aesthetic and having beautiful spaces, similar to having beautiful clothes.
Awesome.
So when things started to change in the industry, I took a little bit of a shift. I moved back home and I started very, very small. Literally with my parents' house, being like, this is a beautiful home, but it's slightly outdated by about 25 years.
We can do better.
It was very small changes, and then the snowball started to roll. COVID happened and I taught myself AutoCAD, and that was kind of the groundbreaking piece that got me into the industry. And I really fine-tuned my gifting and realized that where my talent is mostly spatial relationships and floor planning and figuring out the best way to use a space and make it functional. So many of these older homes have a lot of wasted space, which drives me crazy. Living in New York City for as many years as I have found the value of using every single inch of a space and making it work for you.
Yeah, my stepfather always taught me about outfitting a boat.
Yeah.
If you go on a sailboat or a smaller boat, every inch of the wall space is covered with something useful for the boat. And you can do that in a nicely decorated way with Jill.
Yes.
So, that intrigued me that you had been in fashion design and then crossed over. Mm-hmm. Most folks that I talked to in the design world were in some way tangentially related to construction somehow. Maybe they worked in the office somewhere and they just wanted to branch out and get into the design process. But you came from a completely different world, although sales is tied together.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a better connection with clothing design to residential building design that I know of off the top of my head. But I just found it intriguing that you made that leap. And not only has she made that leap, but start talking to her for 5 minutes and listen to the knowledge that this woman possesses when she starts talking to you about the different types of tiles and countertops. And to give you some perspective, I gained my knowledge from working at those large box stores 20 and 30 years ago, because I would be bored when I was there, and I'd just read product labels because I'm a nerd and I can't help myself. Jill has taken it upon herself to compress 20 years worth of knowledge in probably less than 2 or 3 years. And you can do that, don't get me wrong, you can do it, but it's a lot of work, because there's so much information out there. Not only do you have to learn the information, but you have to separate between what is good information and what's BS. And I'm sure you've crossed that several times in just getting wheels up on what you do. Tell me about getting your business up and running, how that started. I know that came about of a little hurricane that wiped us off here down in Southwest Florida called Hurricane Ian. That changed a lot of people's lives. Tell me about you and your business, how getting it up and running and how that's gone.
Well, when Hurricane Ian happened, we suffered a lot of devastation. A lot of homes were either completely demolished or...
Were you living here at that time?
I was.
And did your home get destroyed?
It did. I had 4.5 feet of water throughout my house.
That's pretty common for Sanibel. West Gulf area was around 7 to 8 feet. I was on Sanibel 3 days after the storm. There's a lot of photos running around. Just so much devastation. The sides of Sanibel, the east end and the far west end, the flooding for whatever reason was a little less, but still somewhere in the 3 to 4 or 5 feet range. The West Gulf Drive just got nailed.
Yeah. To give you a visual of what 4.5 feet looks like, a countertop is 36 inches. Your light switches are 48 inches.
Right there.
So it's above a light switch. It's above a door handle. So it really, it was very devastating.
Did you stay there?
I did not stay there. I actually left the day before. I was planning on staying, and then I saw the storm path turn directly towards us, and I stayed with a friend in Boca Raton.
Good for you. We actually have 3 clients that we worked with that stayed on Sanibel.
My parents did, and my grandmother.
And those stories, Jim's story is fantastic. I drove him to Boca Raton when they got him off the island to the Boca Resort.
Yeah.
And he's wearing muddy shirts and he had a muddy looking suitcase, and that's a whole nother video. I would love to get Jim in here to interview him. He's quite the character.
We had a helicopter pick up my parents on the golf course in the sanctuary.
Yep.
So some very crazy stories of that time, but part of how I started during Hurricane Ian was helping people create a floor plan for them to get permitting.
Yes.
We had a lot of hurdles, being able to put things back where they were, to have pictures and have a plan. This is where this was. We're going to be modifying that slightly. But we had a lot of rules around FEMA regulation.
And those rules changed daily.
Yes, they did. And they changed throughout the whole process. We had to change our scope throughout that time. But
condo rules were even crazier because
they're commercial.
They're commercial, and every one of those units had a dollar amount associated with them. And we learned this the hard way because we had, prior to the storm, we had hurricane codes and rules of ways that we were supposed to do things, and most GCs that had been around for any length of time kind of knew those rules, but right after, there was probably a 2 or 3 month window of zero information. And FEMA was sticking their fingers into everything. And all of these building departments were trying to absorb this information as fast as they could. Now, I have done work, not to cut you off, but I've done work in a lot of different building municipalities here in Southwest Florida. And I got to tell you, Sanibel was one of the most proactive building departments out there, bar none.
Yeah.
They left their competition in the dust. They came up with ways to work with the GCs and the homeowners because they understood that all of these homeowners were displaced. Even if your house didn't, if you lived in a condo, even if your house didn't get destroyed, your building likely took damage, and you couldn't live there because there was no power, no water, no electricity, no elevators.
Yeah.
And so these folks were displaced, and Sanibel went, in my opinion, they went above and beyond to figure out, okay, how are we going to make this work? Now, that's not to say that it was completely a smooth road, because it wasn't. But I believe, in my opinion, that they went out of their way. And this is another thing most people don't understand about Sanibel. They had a brand new building chief, Craig Millay, had just taken over. It was less than 6 months. Their city manager had also turned over. Judith Zamamra had left, and this team came together like no other. And if you can drive out to Sanibel right now, you can still see damage. Don't get me wrong. West Gulf will never look the same. And there's still a bunch of ranch level houses where I can look. I'm like, still not fixed. But people that wanted to get their houses fixed, Sanibel made it possible for them to do that.
That's right. So, we had a lot of temporary permitting, and one of the biggest things that Sanibel helped working with DeSantis in the state of Florida was getting the causeway back up. That was the biggest.
Wow! Have you ever seen a road be built in less than 3 weeks?
It was incredible. That was the game changer. That's what actually got trucks and people on the ground. We got workers back, and that was
clearing
the
the
huge
vegetation
switch.
just so that we could get around.
I
remember driving up Sandcap Road. I was riding a bicycle. And I'm 6'5", and just so and I never mind what I weigh, but me on a bicycle is a show that you need to see. Riding up Sandcap Road, and all of the power lines are down in the road.
Right.
There's 2 to 3 inches of sand across the roadway, and
the muck.
And the muck, and it smelled great. Not gonna lie, it was a little bit overwhelming. But getting that causeway opened back up as fast as it did allowed the infrastructure to go to work.
That's right.
And they could clear the roads and get the debris out of the way. And then we started seeing the trash mounds start to form. There were, going down West Gulf Drive, all of these condos started clearing out. There was mountains of mattresses. There were mountains of every soft good item that you can think of. Appliances. Just sitting out at the road waiting to be picked up. And then the army of trash trucks started showing up. So we've gotten completely off of renovation design work. It's been made this all about Hurricane Ian, which, we're going on, this year will be 4 years. 4 years, It still seems like it was just last week. To me, I mean, and we're still working with clients every day that are still affected by Ian in some way. One of the things that happens to me, I get calls, there's ranch houses for sale out there on Sanibel right now that have been gutted and never renovated. And I have to be the one to tell these people, you've got 50% of the building value to renovate with, and we have to put it back to pre-hurricane condition with whatever 50% of that money is. Right. A lot of times that's less than $200,000, and a lot of times it's closer to $100,000 on these ranch, what I call the cracker boxes, to make that happen. And as you probably are well aware, buying the material and sourcing the labor to get that done for $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 can be quite the task.
Yes, it's very challenging.
Okay. Who's your ideal customer, Jill? What if you could just look, and source one? Who's your perfect customer?
Everyone.
Everyone, okay. That narrows it down.
Honestly, I think anyone who is looking to have help making their space feel like their own. I think that the thing that my goal is not to push my vision and my design on someone, but it's to help them figure out what they want. Okay. Someone might like a blue bathroom and someone might want a pink bathroom, and
I can help. Get that pink bathtub?
No, we don't do that one. But whatever their color is, I have a lot of people who are very into white and want the marble look and in more of a traditional style. I have people who want more of a coastal look, white and navy blue and shiplap, and get that Serena and Lily stuff going. So there's a lot of different styles that are going on, but it's your home. You are the one who has to live with it, and you have to love it. If I love it and you hate it, that's my job hasn't been done well. So I get this one a lot. I'll see how you handle it. We get customers that move down here primarily from the Midwest, but anywhere in the North. And the color palettes in the North are usually darker, in my opinion, based upon what I've seen. Whereas when you come into Florida, your color palettes are traditionally the I call them the Easter colors almost. The lighter colors, the ocean colors, the beach vibe.
And what happens is I'll get a customer that moves down here from Ottumwa, Iowa. One of my favorite characters on TV was from Ottumwa, Iowa. If you can figure that out, let me know. And they want to decorate their new home down here in Southwest Florida with these dark colors. Now, I know that's what they're used to, but how do you talk to someone about maybe you want to look at this other color palette?
Yeah, it's always different. You know, I try to guide someone for where they are. Let's make their home fit for their location and their environment. Look at the other things surrounding you. You don't want to have a dark brown house in the middle of the beach.
Right.
You know, you're looking at white homes and stucco. You have different types of siding, different types of roofing down here. Building materials are very different, so we need to stay within that lane. And I also try to just open their mind to a whole different look and feel. When you're up north and you're living in a snowball, I did it for years. It's a very different, dreary feel sometimes. Where you come down here and we are
sunshine,
80 degrees and sunshine most of the time. So I like to kind of say, if you brought the outside inside, what does that look like to you?
Right. That's a great scenario. I like that a lot. Well, if you brought your outside world inside, I like that.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're going to cost me if I'm your customer? Obviously, you're an added expense. Am I going to recoup some of that expense? What kind of expense? What kind of number can I expect for just a regular? Let's say we're talking about a bathroom renovation, or maybe a kitchen. A kitchen might be something that's more relevant to bringing in a designer. Or am I wrong? Would it be a bathroom?
It would be any of those spaces. I do bathrooms and I do kitchens pretty often.
Okay.
It really depends on the scope. Sometimes it's very hard to give a price, and it also depends my level of involvement, right? So if I'm coming in and I'm just helping you with the floor plan and I'm not really working with the materials, that's a very different price than if I was going to do a full scope design.
Do you present a contract price up front, or do you find yourself working time and material most of the time?
A lot of it is time and material.
Okay.
I typically do not charge by the hour. I like to give flat pricing.
Okay.
Because I think that it helps alleviate some of the anxiety of like, oh, I have a phone call and now I'm getting charged. Is this in the package? So I like to give a flat price based on square footage and the project scope.
Okay, that makes sense. Now you can also work with someone like myself, a general contractor. Tell me a little bit about that relationship. How does that work?
Yes. I have discovered in my last few years that contractors...
All of them. All four of them.
Yep, all four of them. That contractors really would like to have organized materials.
Yes.
They want to start with their demo and just continue going. And what I have discovered in a successful renovation, one that is stress-free, one that is on time, within budget, is organization. It really all comes down to planning and organization. And if you have that, your project will go as smooth as possible.
Yes.
There's always something that might come up, but for the most part, 90% of it is smooth sailing. So what I like to do working with a contractor is figure out first what the client needs, what the scope is, and be able to hand you that plan and say, here we go, we have all the materials selected, this is our tile, this is our flooring. And as materials need to come in for the scope of the project, that's when they will flow in.
And this
so
was
I
the
help coordinate
conversation that we were having yesterday when we were talking that drew me right in, because this is exactly the same process that Sunset utilizes. If you bring a project to us, we're going to basically work through and find all of the problems and that need to be answered, and we answer those questions up front by talking to you, the customer. Okay, you have a bathroom faucet that needs to be purchased. What do you see? What is your finish color? What is it, a 4-inch spread? Is it an 8-inch spread? Do you have a brand that you're fanatical about that you want to use? If you need some assistance with that, both of us have a wealth of knowledge in various, I can talk to you until your arm falls off about Moen faucets and why I love them. There's one valve, and if it breaks, or if some faucets have two, but if it breaks, take it out, put a new one back in, you're back in business. They're very functional faucets. Now, there are high-end faucets that will blow the price tag of a Moen out of the water by far.
That's my world.
Are they better functionally? That's debatable. Are they better aesthetically? Sure. Moen is I always tell people, Moen's like a meat and potatoes faucet. You know, it is what it is. The same goes for any aspect of your home. And so what we try to do is we sit down with our clients up front and we source through we work our way through each of these issues, and we help you, if you need our help, pick the finished materials. So once it comes time, we've got your permit in hand, we've got your engineering if we need it. When it's time to start that project, there's nothing in the way between us and the finish line except maybe some hidden and concealed conditions that nobody can see.
Right.
But if we do everything right over here, we have solved probably close to 80 to 90% of any of the issues that may come up in your project, and that translates to a faster project. We're out of your house much quicker. You don't have to provide coffee to me every. I'm not. It's just a joke. You don't have to do that anymore. I like black coffee and the donut. The donuts with the white cream fill. Those are my favorite. We're finished with your project much faster, and your disruption of your daily life is minimized. So
that's right. When
Jill started talking about what she does, I'm like, that's the exact same thing I do. I like that a lot. Tell me some of your success stories and what made them so successful in working with a general contractor.
I think
you're not allowed to plug another GC. This is my show.
I like the back and forth. I think that working with a GC, there are things that I'm going to focus more on, and you're going to focus more on. Little details that I like to think about. Sometimes I like to turn the outlets horizontal so you don't see them as much. Right. I like to put them closer to the countertop in a kitchen. So again, you minimize the visibility. A lot of contractors, not to say that you're not detail, but sometimes you get into a routine. This is how it's done. This is where you go, and a lot of it you're just. You don't always take that time to think this because you're busy building the rest of the infrastructure. Yep. You're concerned on framing and drywall, getting your subs in, making sure that all of your trades have the things that they need. And I'm sitting there looking at the position of an outlet and where it's supposed to be. And we have clients that think just like you. Yes. And when I want that information, and it doesn't always translate, is I want it back here in the planning phase. That's right. But a lot of times customers, we might be looking at blueprints, and customers, I had a hard time learning to transition from 2D visuals to 3D visuals, to take that two-dimensional plan and then be able to look at it as a finished product out in space and time. It takes training to do that, and most customers haven't spent that kind of time doing it. Now, and it's usually the female that likes to see those outlets turn, but they're not thinking about it back here in the design time. And with you, that you may bring that out, which I think is amazing. That's a great concept, because my electricians could care less which way that outlet is turned. If you have a preference, we're happy to turn it sideways. Just tell us. What drives us all nuts is if we finish the drywall, we put the plug in or the receptacle in and the plate and all that stuff, and then you come back and say, could you turn that? I want to move it. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Or if you do an electrical trim out, and then you come back and you say, ooh, I want dimmers on everything. Yes. And now you have to switch out everything and go back. Again, all of those little decisions, they should be made beforehand. Yes. And I think I mentioned this to you yesterday. Your lighting selections have to be done before you start. Same with plumbing. How many functions do you want in your shower? Do you want to have a handheld? Do you want to have a simple shower head where you just have a pressure balance? Would you like a thermostatic type of plumbing fixture? Oh, I saw this one the other day. Got to have it in my next shower. It's it blows air into your shower stall to dry it out after you're finished. I'm like, oh, gotta have one of those. Gotta have one of those. But part of my job is educating people on what is thermostatic, what is a pressure balance. Can I have a 6-function shower?
And folks, let me tell you, the design work that she does, in my mind, is second to her product knowledge. And for 4 years of playtime, she is well versed. You're going to be knocked off your chair when you talk to her about the things that she brings to the table and the knowledge she's got about these products. So
thank you.
Was very impressed. That's what I do because I'm a nerd, and to find someone else that has educated themselves that way in less than 4 years, I am impressed.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is your chance to reach out to the world and ask for your specific ask and tell. Go for it. Tell the customers, or tell the audience why they should call you and who you're looking for that you could help right away.
I would love to talk to anyone who's interested in design, how to make their home a little bit more functional, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to match their style. And I think no project is too small for me. I think that
Absolutely.
That's a big message that I like to communicate, that I feel other designers don't really fill that void. Just making a closet a little bit better can be a huge change for your home. And I love new homeowners because that's one of the biggest opportunities to say, I'm moving here, I'm gonna, bring my family. You want to fill that space and make it your own. You don't want to feel like you're living in someone else's house. So I would love to help you as a new homeowner, or if someone just wants a little refresh.
Yep.
So.
And I'll add one thing to that, folks, and that is the feeling of regret or remorse once a project is finished. Try as we might, and it's happened to me a few times, we try our best to bring your dream to reality, and maybe you weren't quite certain as to what you wanted, and we went with it. And then after the project's all done, the paint's dried, and we've turned it over to you, you walk into that room and you're like, just missed.
Yeah.
A dollar spent with someone like Jill to help reach into your mind to pull out your dream, it's the value cannot be measured in my mind, because she's truly going to deliver that oh my God factor, if you will. So Jill, tell us once again, how would someone get in touch with you?
My website would be the easiest way to get in touch with me. Okay. DulceJill.com, DulceJill.com, or you can always just give me a call, 973-219-7002.
Awesome. And if your project requires a general contractor, we have been licensed and insured here in Southwest Florida for 16 years now. We specialize on Sanibel. We work on Fort Myers Beach. We work in Lee County. We work on Captiva. Call us. We can be reached here at the office at 239-236-9646, or you can email us at info@sunsetbuilders.net, or you can find us on our web at www.sunsetbuilders.net. Jill, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.